It's Dorm Room Sports Chat. I'm your host, Joey Putrelo, along with Go AZ Cats reporters Evan Murray and Danny Passavoy, along with the color commentator for Arizona Wildcat Hockey, Nick Foles. This is Dorm Room Sports Chat. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Dorm Room Sports Chat. I'm your host, Joey Putrelo, and tonight Evan is out of town and Nick is feeling a little bit under the weather, so we have Wildcat sports anchor Lauren Weinberg and Camp Radio baseball color commentary man Joey Callahan filling in for them today. Tonight we'll talk about what went wrong for Arizona basketball in Pasadena. Arizona baseball struggled today against San Francisco. We'll give you the cat scratch and finish strong with a game of fill in the blank and 30 seconds. So let's get to Arizona basketball. The number 11 Arizona basketball squad dropped their 6th game of the season and 2nd Pac-12 matchup in a row last night. They failed to get their revenge on the road at UCLA. The final score in Pasadena was the Bruins 74, Wildcats 69. All right, so Lauren, Arizona head coach Sean Miller told the media after the game that he was actually happy with how the team played last night. And why do you think he feels this way?
Well, I think that Sean Miller is impressed that we were able to come back from, I saw we were down by 14 at one point, and Pauley Pavilion in LA is a tough place to play. Blake Griffin was even in the house last night, and UCLA's been playing some really strong basketball, maybe one of the strongest in the nation lately. So I think that Sean Miller's a little impressed that the Wildcats could bring back the game, even with those 16 turnovers. I think they could have done a little better job, maybe a lot better job, but still, coming back and only losing by 5, I was impressed.
I don't understand how you can be happy after a loss. I've never understood this. Look, you're going towards the end of the season. You have to start winning games, especially if you want to win the Pac-12. You had to win this game. After this, you don't have the tiebreaker with UCLA. You don't have the tiebreaker with Oregon, and you don't have the tiebreaker with Cal. You're not going to win the Pac-12 anymore. You just lost. How can you be happy after a game like this? 16 turnovers, couldn't stop Larry Drew, couldn't stop Shabazz Muhammad, Kyle Anderson. They played a pretty bad game. There was just nothing going on. I don't understand how you could be happy with this. They lost the Pac-12 this week in LA.
And did you guys see when Mark Lyons was trying to talk trash?
Yeah.
And he ended up falling on his face? I mean, that's just, I don't understand how you can be happy either, because that was just simply embarrassing, I think.
Talk trash in games that you know you're going to win. Talk trash when you're 6 of 9 from three-point land. Don't talk trash if you're 5 of 15 shooting. Don't talk trash if you only have 1 assist in the game when Larry Drew has 9. You just don't do it. You don't talk trash to people who are having better games than you. I've never understood that either. Overall, pretty bad game for Arizona. There's no reason to be happy at this point.
All right, so Joey, what I want to know from you is that the Wildcats were unsuccessful both times that they've played the Bruins this season. And so do you think that if they potentially run into each other again, perhaps in the Pac-12 tournament or maybe even in the NCAA tournament, do you think that we can figure out a way to beat them?
Oh, well, absolutely. I think if there's one thing we've really learned from these first 2 games, that these are 2 very evenly matched teams. 5-point loss last night. They were in the game for most of it, and they made a big comeback. And one thing we've seen a lot in the Pac-12 tournament, it's a tournament game. Anything can happen. I think if you want to go back to 2002, it was actually a matchup between UCLA and Arizona. Arizona was one of the top 5 teams in the country, the number 1 seed in the tournament, and UCLA pulled off the upset in LA.
Yeah, you know what? UCLA is probably the most evenly matched team talent-wise with Arizona in the Pac-12. I mean, they have Larry Drew, who's probably the best point guard in my opinion, the most pure point guard, him and Jahai Carson. But Larry Drew did everything right. There was no answer for him, no defense either game. Solomon Hill could not guard Shabazz Muhammad at all. There's no stopping this guy. This guy's a top 5 pick. And even Ben Howland after the game said, look, he's a one-and-done guy. He's a top 5 player in the 2013 NBA draft. He's gone. You cannot let guys like Kyle Anderson get 17 and 7. He had a double-double in the first time they played. David Ware, a backup six man on the roster, 9 rebounds, 10 points, almost a double-double for him. There's no defense. Arizona has no creativity on offense whenever they play UCLA. It's like they get too hyped into the scenario of the game and not enough coaching into the game. And it's kind of pretty disappointing to see that they can't beat the most evenly matched team that they have in the Pac-12. It's a little disheartening going into the Pac-12 tournament.
All right, but Danny, I also want to know from you, 2 seasons ago, the Wildcats were in the same situation, losing 2 huge games in a row going down the stretch. And that year they went to the Elite Eight. Is there a chance that they could repeat that performance this season?
You can't compare this team to 2010. There's so many differences that it's unbelievable. Derek Williams. There's no guy on this team right now that compares to Derek Williams.
Exactly.
He's a takeover style player. And Arizona just doesn't have that. Who's their go-to player? Solomon Hill? Maybe. If he's
it's a
playing
different
up
guy
to it.
every night.
Nick
It's
Johnson,
whoever chooses to show up.
Nick Johnson, you don't know whether he's going to show up. Mark Lyons, you don't know whether he's going to be driving to the lane or just sit around the perimeter. You just don't know. Derek Williams, you know that he's going to go there every day, give it his all, and he's going to show up. Arizona just doesn't have that. However, Arizona won the big games early in the season. They beat Florida. They beat San Diego State. They beat Miami. 2010, they lost to number 6 Kansas early in the year. They lost to number 8 BYU. They lost to Washington twice. They didn't win the big games. So these 2 teams are very different. Neither of them have a true point guard who can get assists regularly in games. However, they're very 2 different style teams. And Arizona this year doesn't have the go-to guy that the Wildcats did in 2010.
I think they're going to have to show up way better to the Pac-12 tournament if they're going to have any chance of advancing in the NCAA tournament. I think their style of play last night was very erratic, and they had way too many turnovers and the boards that they just couldn't get them up. I saw a couple times where Zeus could have gone up for huge dunks, and he couldn't put anything away. Mark Lyons was even trying to take the game into his own hands at one point. Yeah, Jared had those 3-pointers. Those were nice, but you have to play as a team. There's something wrong with the chemistry here.
And what happens and what's the difference between the LA series and the Washington series for Arizona is the forced passes. And this happened all game. You had 16 turnovers against UCLA. Against Washington State, one of them, I think they had 6. It's the forced passes, and all that, in my opinion, falls on the shoulders of Nick Johnson. For him, he's the go-to guy, in my opinion. It's not Solomon Hill. It's not Mark Lyons. It's Nick Johnson. When he shows up to the play, the Wildcats win, and they win big. And he just didn't show up once again. Nick Johnson, 4 of 10 shooting, missed 5 3-pointers in this game, 10, 3, and 2. Not an impressive stat line for him. And he didn't show up on defense. He's getting beat. There's no backside help. There's no rotation on defense. And I think the Wildcats are going to have a tough time in the tournament and in March Madness.
Well, you talk about the lack of a go-to guy, and one thing, obviously, there's no Derek Williams on this team, but top to bottom, this team is a lot better skill-wise than that team 2 years ago was. So, I think you have to be at least a little bit optimistic when tournament time rolls around. They might be able to put a run together if they can find some chemistry and work on an offense.
It's just about who shows up on it. They have to all be there.
I'm not questioning their talent. Talent-wise, I think they're the best team in the Pac-12, probably the best team on the West Coast. But they don't have the chemistry. They're not clicking like the team in 2010 did. And they got hot towards the end of the year, went all the way to the championship of the Pac-10 tournament, Pac-10 at that time, lost to Washington, but was able to make a run. They beat Memphis, they beat Texas, they beat Duke, and they lost to Connecticut in a very close game. They had the chemistry and they had the offensive creativity that this team just doesn't have right now. So if they're able to find it, and there's still a little bit of time, and especially in rivalry games, like you can come out against ASU and all of a sudden you click against a rivalry team like that, you have a big win, that can catapult you into the tournament. But right now, I'm not seeing that. And unless they click against ASU, they click early in the Pac-10 tournament, I don't see them going too far this year.
So much for the Bahamas trip then, right? To get the team better chemistry. Yeah. Thanks for the insight, though, analysts. Don't leave us yet, because next we're going to talk Arizona baseball. You're watching Dorman Sports Chat on UATV3.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
This is the Tucson Weekly. It comes out only once a week. This is the Arizona Daily Star. It's produced for old people. This is the Arizona Daily Wildcat. It's produced by students for students.
Look up. Look down. Where are you? You're at Camp Student Radio. Listen on the iPad. Listen on the iPhone. Listen on a boombox. Listen online. Arizona Student Media. The content you want, the way you want it.
What's in your hand? Look back at me. You're watching UATV, Channel 3. I'm directing. Now I'm producing. And now I'm anchoring. And
We're voting yes!
On the Arizona Student Media feed.
Vote online at asua.arizona.edu.
Tuesday, March 5th and Wednesday, March 6th.
Arizona baseball may have won the weekend series against San Francisco, but today a sour taste was left in their mouths after getting beat down 9-2. The Wildcats lineup today hit a meager 189, and starting pitcher Steven Manthe was pulled in the first inning without earning a single out. So Lauren, Steven Manthe's stat line today: 0 innings pitched, 2 earned runs on 1 hit, 3 walks, and no strikeouts. Can he be trusted any longer as the Sunday starter?
Joey, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here because it's still really early in the season.
Okay.
I mean, for me, yeah, everyone has their bad games. I don't think that he shouldn't be trusted anymore. That's kind of a heavy statement. I still think he'll be fine. Last season he had the second lowest ERA of the club of Arizona's baseball team. I don't think there's anything that we need to be worried about at this point.
That was the bullpen. That was when he was the bullpen. I feel like he's just, right now, he's kind of struggling to find his place as a starter, and I'm worried about him a little bit because I just know that the competition is not going to get any easier from here. You see where I'm coming from?
I think there's a pretty big problem with Steven Manthe right now, and the big problem is he's not finding his location. He had a good start last Sunday, but has 2 in-between starts that have been pretty bad. And this guy can't find his location right now. His out of pitch is not working. His velocity is down. Couldn't even get an out today. That's pretty bad. Even Andy Lopez, after the game, I was able to talk with him, and he said, look, Cody Moffitt pitched well enough that he's probably going to start Sundays from now on. The thing is, Lopez likes to win, and the Wildcats win, and they're a winning franchise, and they're not going to stick around and wait for someone who can't find it right now. So what they're going to do, in my opinion, they'll probably start him on Wednesdays, give him some appearances out of the bullpen, try and build his confidence back up, but I don't think he's going to be starting on Sundays for at least a little while from now on.
You know, Manthe didn't get this position to be the Sunday guy by accident. He's a guy who's been around the team for 4 years now. He's a senior, and he earned that spot. Obviously, 2 of his first 3 starts have not been encouraging at all. But he is a very good pitcher. He can crank it up, almost touch the 90s from time to time. Like you said, the velocity's been down. But I don't see any reason to think that he won't get back to where he's been in the past with the Wildcats.
It's pretty difficult. 23 appearances out of the bullpen last year, had never started a weekend game, and it's only his 3rd weekend game. You're right about that. But the problem is you're starting to head towards Pac-12 play, and the Pac-12 is extremely good this year. Oregon, Stanford, Oregon State, a lot of good teams. The good thing about Steven Manthe is he's got the short-term memory kind of style. He'll dwell on it tonight, and that'll be it. That's all he'll think about it. However, the Wildcats need to win now. They cannot fall behind in the Pac-12, and Andy Lopez knows that, and he's going to switch it immediately. It took him 4 batters to pull Manthe from the game. That's not a mistake. He's on a short leash right now, and right now it's looking like Moffitt's going to be the guy moving forward unless Manthe can really have a strong outing in his next appearance, but I don't think that's going to be next Sunday. I think it's going to be a week from Wednesday.
Okay, well, with that said, Joey, Cody Moffitt was brilliant in relief today. Pitched 4 innings of no-hit ball. But is his presence too important in the bullpen for him to be moved to a full-time starter?
Well, the Cats have a real luxury in the bullpen right now. Both Moffitt and Augie Bill, 2 very big, hard-throwing lefties. They've both been absolutely fantastic. And, we talked about it on the air today. Last year, the strength was obviously in the rotation. This year, one of the strengths is the bullpen, so they can afford to bring Moffitt or Bill, whoever that may be. They can bring them into the rotation, and they've still got a lot of quality arms at the back end of that bullpen.
I think it's really a no-brainer at this point to bring Moffitt into the Sunday position. He's shown that he can pitch. This week alone, 9 1/3 inning, only 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. He's pitching like a starting pitcher in the Pac-12 should. With that being said, you have Augie Bill, who's now 2-0 on the season, pitched very strong in every appearance that he's had this year. You have guys like Nick Cunningham, veterans out of the pen who get outs and they throw strikes, and that's what the Wildcats need. I think that this is no-brainer. Moving Manthe to the bullpen, I think will really help the Wildcats too. Have another strong veteran righty in the bullpen who knows how to get guys out. So I think that this is a no-brainer kind of move. Moffitt, although just a freshman, he's not playing like a freshman. He can pitch, so I think you got to move him into the Sunday role. Maybe give Cunningham the Wednesday starts, Crawford the Tuesday starts. But they got a strong bullpen. Rough outing today with Littleman getting some time, Schulten's getting some time, Cunningham, Bill, Hale all pitching today, except Xavier Board. All these guys getting minutes, but I think Moffitt's got to be the guy moving forward, and I think you got to move Manthe to the bullpen.
And also then, Danny, the Wildcats have a 2-game series at High Corbett Field against Texas Tech coming up this Sunday. In my opinion, this is the toughest competition that Arizona will be facing to date. So how do you think that series is going to pan out given what they've done so far in this season?
Well, it's only a 2-game series, and it's a midweek series, so there's a chance that the Wildcats won't have to face ace Trey Masick, who's by far the Red Raiders' best player. Baseball America, top 100 player in college baseball. So far in the year, 2-0, no earned runs, and 27 Ks in 1 complete game. This guy's a real deal, but I don't think we're going to see him on Tuesday or Wednesday. But they got a good pitching staff. Matt Withrow, 2-1 on the season, under 3 ERA, but they're hitting. They're not a very sound offensive team. They got only one guy with over 10 RBIs on the season so far, and that's Devin Conley. If the Wildcats are able to attack the pitching, because other than their top 2 guys, they don't really have it. So if they're able to attack the top 2 pitching, score over 5 runs a game, I think the Wildcats should sweep without an issue.
I also think, though, Johnny Field didn't show up at all today. I'm pretty sure he was 0 for 4 batting.
Yep.
Where has he been? I think he's one of our strongest hitters. So if his offense doesn't show up, I mean, he is only one hitter, but he's a big part of our offense. How's that going to affect our game?
Well, it really doesn't matter so far early in this year because you have guys like Brandon Dixon who's hitting .460 to start the year. You have guys like Trent Gilbert with 18 RBIs so far. 5 other guys with more than 10 RBIs. This team is very sound from 1 to 9. And even if one guy is not performing, another guy will step up. Riley Moore will step up. Today, Zach Gibbons will step up. You still got guys like Scott Kingery. You got guys like Joseph Maggi who's still yet to play, yet they're still winning games. So one guy on this team really doesn't make that big of a difference because every new day, a new player is stepping up to play. So Johnny Field will find it. He's still hitting .290 to start the year. He'll find his zone, and don't worry, the Wildcats will still be all right, even if he's not performing at his best.
If there's one guy that we probably don't need to worry about on this team, I'd say it's Johnny Field. I mean, the one thing we know for absolute sure is that Johnny Field can hit. An 0 for 4 today, his average is still over 300, and he's going to hit 300 for the course of the year. One thing you mentioned, Danny, is those big ace pitchers that Texas Tech has. Thankfully for us, it's a midweek series, so we're probably not going to see either of their aces. It's not a really strong squad. They're 7-5. Last year they were playing about 500 ball for most of the season. Didn't return a lot of guys. This isn't a true test yet. We probably won't see anything that we're not ready for until we get into conference play.
Yeah. I really don't see this being too big of an issue for the Wildcats. Texas Tech, like you said, a 500 team. They got 2 ace pitchers who are very good, but they're probably not going to see them. The first test, in my opinion, will be Oregon State. Number 6 team in the country right now, and they're rolling. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue heading into the early of the season because when we play them, we have a 3-game series with them. If Moffitt can step up, Game 3, Connor Wade, pretty rough start to the season, 2-0 right now, but got tagged for 6 runs and 4 runs, so it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think the Wildcats should have too big of an issue with the Red Raiders on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Hey, and I just also want to put out a point of defense for Johnny Field. He made probably one of the most beautiful catches that I've ever seen in the outfield today. Did you see that?
And he's
laid his body completely. That was just he's done. It's injustice done to him if he's not on SportsCenter top 10 tonight.
He's not going to be because it's college baseball, but
Yeah.
he's probably had 4 or 5 diving plays this year that were even better than today. This guy is a great outfielder. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he can cover a lot of ground out there. I think he's a better overall outfielder than Joey Rickard in covering space, but he doesn't have the arm that Rickard had.
Right. Okay, guys, good stuff. Thanks for that input. So when we come back, we'll run down the cat scratch. You're watching Dorm Room Sports Chat on UATV3.
Hi, it's David Hasselhoff, the Hawk. Get Hawk with UATV. Stay tuned. Don't change the dial.
The life I lead is enough of a dog. I may have fleas, but I run a yard. I see those clones looking down on me, but unlike those clones, this dog is free. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life.
Cunningham hasn't been real good.
The cat scratch. Earlier today, the number 10 Arizona Wildcats baseball team fell 9-2 at home by the hands of San Francisco. Steven Manthe didn't make it through the first inning of his start, and the team struggled at the plate the entire game as well. The Wildcats' record dropped to 10-3. On Tuesday, they began a 2-game series with Texas Tech at High Corbett Field, and in women's basketball, Davlin White had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals, but the effort wasn't good enough as the Cats fell to UCLA 68-57 in the McHale Center. All right, let's get to fill in the blank. Analysts, tonight our topic for fill in the blank is going to be about Nick Foles and his job security in Philadelphia. Now that Chip Kelly is the new head coach, earlier today, Eagles running back LaShawn McCoy said that he thinks Michael Vick is going to be the starter in Philadelphia by the start of the NFL regular season. So with all that said, fill in this blank for me. Next year, Nick Foles will be the starting quarterback for...
That's pretty difficult. And one of the worst things for Nick Foles in Philadelphia was them getting Chip Kelly as their coach. They need a running quarterback, and you know what? As much as Michael Vick turns the ball over, he's a better running quarterback. And that's just Oregon style, and that's probably what's going to be Philadelphia's style. I thought previously that he was going to go to the Chiefs, but as a few days ago, it looks like Alex Smith is going to head over to the Chiefs from San Francisco. There are a lot of teams that still need a quarterback, though. The Cardinals still do. Jacksonville certainly does. The Jets still do if they're willing to pull a trigger. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I think he ends up staying in Philadelphia as a backup for Michael Vick. Wait for Vick to mess up, and then I think
Or get hurt.
I'm going to have to agree because I think Nick Foles, he'll be the starting quarterback for the Eagles bench. Michael Vick, he is injury prone, but Michael Vick is also an overall better quarterback. I see that the Eagles franchise wouldn't have re-signed him if they didn't plan to utilize his talent. So I just don't think that Nick Foles, I got his back, Arizona Wildcat, he did great here, but I think that Michael Vick runs an overall better offense.
Well, another big factor right there is going to be the amount of money that Foles is owed compared to what they just signed Vick for. They can't afford to put a guy like Vick on their bench with the huge contract they just gave him. And like you said, the Chip Kelly run and gun spread offense, that's right up Michael Vick's alley.
Yeah, I really don't think Michael Vick is a better quarterback at this point in his career. He's too turnover happy. He's not good on third down, but he can run, and that's the only reason, along with the money, why he's going to start over Nick Foles. He's better quarterback in this offense. Overall quarterback, however, he's not better than Nick Foles. But the way that the NFL is going right now, it's all spread. Everyone's running, and that's the dual threat style kind of quarterback works. And you see that with Cam Newton, and you see that with Robert Griffin, and even Andrew Luck can move. And that's what's working in the NFL, and that's why Matt Scott's probably going to get picked up by a team, and that's why Nick Foles probably isn't going to start for the Eagles this year.
I also think Nick Foles is, he's still young, fresh in his career. I think he's got plenty of time to go, plenty of growing to do as a player. Still not completely used to that NFL athlete standpoint, he did have a good couple games when Vic was injured last year, but I still see Vic with the experience he's proven in multiple Pro Bowls that he is a quarterback worthy of starting.
Yeah, but Nick Foles has the intelligence of one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and that's what some people don't know. Late in the season when the Eagles were down big, he led the comebacks. The calls weren't coming from the sideline. They were plays drawn up in Nick Foles' head, and he was directing Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, where to go. They didn't have these plays set up. These were plays that he made on the spot in the huddle that won games. This guy is an intelligent quarterback, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to end up somewhere and have a pretty good career in the NFL.
And Michael Vick, guys, I feel like he's somebody that he needs to learn how to take hits better. And his offensive line still isn't really that great. I'm still looking forward to seeing what the Eagles are going to do in the NFL draft. Personally, I think they need to start building up their offensive line more than anything, because that's pretty much why they were as horrible of an offense as they were, and that's why Vic played so poorly, because he just wasn't protected, and he's not good under pressure, and he's not good at taking hits at this point in his career. He's getting older. He's above 30 years old. So.
Well, the Eagles need a blindside lineman. That's what they need. What the biggest problem with Michael Vick this season is he'd get hit from behind, and he doesn't have the ball strength security to hold on to the ball when he gets stripped. That's not Michael Vick's game. It never has been. He's always been turnover happy. He's always been fumble happy. And the biggest problem with the Eagles is that they let the DN on the blind side get around the back. And even if Michael Vick is trying to shoot up the gut, the DN on the right side is up there stripping the ball from under him. And that's the biggest problem. And I think that they're going to attack that in the first round of the NFL draft in 2013. I mean, they have to.
Hey, but no matter what, we're pulling for Nick Foles because he's a former Wildcat. Stick around for one more segment. We're going to close, as usual, with a game of 30 seconds. When we get back, you're watching Dorm Room Sports Chat on UATV3.
Come game time, pressure falls on the shoulders of this season's drum major.
For an entire week, there's golfing, food, drinks, and entertainment that doesn't stop when the sun goes down.
If you are not yet registered to vote, here's what an Arizona voter registration form looks like.
Bundle up, Wildcats, winter is almost here. Reporting from the UA Mall for Wildcats, I'm Shay Sorensen.
People may tune out someone they see on a median trying to sell newspapers.
Those extra few hours of having to swipe your CAT card to get in at night might be keeping non-U of A students out of the library.
And while some are traveling to Mexico for cheaper gas, others are forced to pay those high prices at the pump.
Students and parents are always invited to come cheer on the Wildcats.
We'll see you back here next week for another edition of Wildcast.
All right, it's time for a quick game of 30 seconds where Lauren, Joey, and Danny each have 30 seconds to voice one of their opinions about any topic in sports. And actually, I'm going to do one as well today because it's for a good cause. But Lauren, you're leading off, so give us what you got.
All right, I'm going to start. Rory McIlroy. So first, he's eliminated in the first round at the Accenture Match Play Championship in Tucson, but then an early exit from the Honda Classic this week. I'm just curious, what is going on? Do you really think that wisdom tooth is something that he could put the blame on, or the transition to the new clubs? I'm still confused. He went in top contender for the Accenture Match Play. First round eliminated him and Tiger. He's just hasn't been showing up. At least he shook his opponent, or not his opponent's, excuse me, his partner's hands when he walked off the course, but I'm still surprised by it.
Hey, I like it. Golf. That's a good topic. All right, Nick.
I don't think we've ever had a golf.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a golf 30 seconds either.
That's
good to mix it up. All right, Joey, tell them what's good.
The California Golden Bears basketball team has won 7 straight and 9 of 10. They're the hottest team in the Pac-12. They're one of the only teams that's actually playing well right now. This week, Jay Billis ranked them outside of the top 68 in his power rankings, behind 6 Pac-12 teams, 5 of which Cal has beaten in the past 4 weeks. It's time for the Bears to get some love.
Oh, I feel that too. I agree with that. All right, Danny, you're up, man.
All right, I'm going to give a shout out to UCLA right here. for a reason that we talked about earlier in I think it was the first episode, for not rushing the court. Arizona is not that great of a team, and they don't deserve to be number 11. So when UCLA beat them, they had tons of security surrounding the court just so they wouldn't rush. Why? Because UCLA is a top-tier program, and it's degrading if fans rush the court at a game like this, because it makes you look bad. It makes you look like you weren't supposed to win this game. UCLA always comes in with the mentality that they're going to win, and that's why they didn't rush the court. So shout out to UCLA. And I, too, believe that Cal is probably playing the best Pac-12 basketball right now, and I think that they end up winning the Pac-12 title.
All right, I'm going to get to my 30 seconds now, and I just want to say for everyone, whenever anyone hands you that little green slip that says what $3 will get, it gets a lot. It gets student media. It gets you UATV, Camp Radio, and the Daily Wildcat. So March 5th through the 6th, please vote yes. We cannot stress that enough, how important it is that we get this done. And I can't wait till that this is all over. We've worked very hard in getting the petition signed, and we want to keep giving you as much student media as possible. So vote yes next week. And with that, we're done. So for our analysts,
we're done.
I'm Joey Putrelo. Thanks for tuning in. Next Sunday, we will all be away on spring break, so unfortunately we're not going to be doing a show. However, we're going to be back Sunday, March 17th. That's our awaited return. So for one more time, I'm Joey Putrelo. Have an enjoyable yet responsible enough spring break, everyone. You're watching Dorman Sports Chat on UATV3.